you're someone who is wondering if astrology can be used to help you cultivate a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with your partner, the answer is 100% yes. And so in today's video, I want to give you a quick and complete rundown of the 3 points that you should look at in you and your partner's chart to cultivate a more thriving relationship using astrology. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabelle, your spiritual rebel friend, and today we are talking about relationships and astrology, specifically the 3 planets in your chart and your partner's chart that you can look at to start using astrology to cultivate a healthier relationship together, to bring each other more fulfillment, and to potentially determine compatibility. Now, quick disclaimer that I want to make before we get any further in the video. I personally believe astrology does not dictate compatibility. Just because they're a Leo and you're an Aquarius does not mean you guys are destined to fail. But astrology can tell us what strengths we are going to have in relationships and what challenges we are likely to face, as well as the potential karmic connection that is present with a partner or anyone in general. But we are not talking about karmic connections today. Today we are talking about how to use astrology in application to your relationships, whether you're newly with someone and you want to cultivate a relationship that is fulfilling for both of you, or if you've been with your lifetime partner and you're looking for a layer of refinement, this is your introduction to using astrology in relationships. Now, in today's video specifically, I'm going to cover 3 major points that play out in relationships, which will be as follows: your Mars and how this plays out in men and women's relationships, your Venus and how this plays out in men and women's relationships, and your Mercury and how this plays out in men and women's relationships, as well as practical tips for applying this knowledge. So if you're someone who wants more how-to guide for applying this information, watch through to the end of this video where I'm going to share my quick practical application of these 3 planets and points in your chart. And before we get any further, be sure to book a reading in the link in the description below, where in 1 hour we can dive deep into any and everything regarding you and or your partner's chart. So love readings, whether someone's your soulmate, attracting your soulmate, refining your relationships, synastry charts, composite charts, comparison of you and your partner's charts. Sky is the limit. Learn more about readings in the link in the description below, and drop a comment down below if you have any questions. So when we're starting to use astrology in application to our relationships, there are really 3 major planets I personally like to look at first. Starting off first and foremost with Mercury. Actually, I know I'm going in a different order than I said in my overview, but I want to start off talking about Mercury because no matter what our other placements are, no matter what brings us emotional fulfillment, no matter what kind of relationship we're looking for, whether that's something open, something serious, something light, something committed, there is just an essential aspect of life, which is we are constantly communicating with each other. No matter how solitary our lives are, we are interacting with the outside world and we are interacting with others. And so communication is essential in our relationships. And oftentimes, while people say communication is key, I feel that this is a very underrated approach or aspect that is highlighted in love astrology, which is your Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. It shows us how we think and how we express, how we think and communicate. At a deeper level, Mercury shows us the filter that we put over the world because there's just too much information. We can't take in every single thing. Scientifically proven, our brain filters information and pulls from memory. And so Mercury, whatever sign it's in, tells us what that filter of refinement is and what we choose to use to filter our reality. For some people, we filter based off of how we feel. For some people, we filter based off of data. For some people, we filter based off of security. It gives us a knowledge base. It gives us a basis to filter this knowledge. And so when it comes to relationships, specifically, both newly started relationships and long-term relationships and marriages, Mercury is essential in understanding you and your partner's differences because it's going to be how you interact with each other. For example, let's say you're sitting down and watching this video with your partner right now, and you plan on having a conversation after it. You guys are going to be processing this information differently based off of your Mercury placements, unless of course you have the same Mercury. So your Mercury tells you how you're going to communicate. It is essential for using astrology to help better improve your relationship. So I'm not going to go through all the different signs that your Mercury can be in, but at least the different elements will help you understand how your partner generally processes things and how they will communicate. So for example, both fire and water Mercuries. So if your Mercury is in Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, these people take information subjectively. They look at information, knowledge, conversations as a subjective basis, saying, well, it's just a matter of how this makes me feel, or this is a matter of my personal opinion. Whereas naturally, a fire or earth Mercury, such as Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, they see information as very objective. This is an objective truth. This is an objective right. This is an objective wrong. And so starting even there and going, okay, well, what is my partner's Mercury and what is my Mercury in? And do we both see information as objective or subjective is huge in using astrology for your relationships, because this starting point will tell you already where conflict may come up. Because if you or your partner have a Mercury in air and earth and the other in fire or water, this is going to be a common dynamic of, this is just how I feel. I need you to understand how I feel. I need you to just see my point of view on this. And then the other side going, but that's not logical. That's not right. That's not true. I just don't understand why this would matter. Why does your personal opinion matter? Common dynamic that presents itself with Mercuries. So understanding your Mercury placement is very important. To refine that even further, looking to your Mercury can mean understanding the element. So if you have generally a fire Mercury, it's very important for these people to talk about their opinions. They share everything on the basis of personal desires, and they love getting fired up in conversation. Conversation is oftentimes very important in a relationship for a fire Mercury. If your Mercury is in a water sign, these people need a lot of emotional connection in their conversation. They need to feel supported and understood. And so emotionally connecting with your partner is going to be very important if they have a water Mercury. If someone's your partner or use if you or your partner's Mercury is in an earth sign, these are the people who don't want to have to mull over things or contemplate things or revisit conversations. It's all about practical application and moving forward. So for example, if your partner is watching this video, you want to be able to just take away the key notes, say, okay, this is what we need to change, moving on. We don't need to contemplate it. We don't need to discuss it. We just need a task. And if your Mercury is in an air sign or your partner's is in an air sign, these people love mental connection and they want a relationship where someone feels like they're thinking alongside them, so to say. Contemplation and innovation are generally kind of concepts that a Mercury in an air sign will take on. So that gives you kind of a knowledge basis on how to start using Mercury. I have a whole video playlist talking about Mercury through the signs and I think the houses that you can go through with your partner to understand your differences in your Mercury. But Mercury, I would say, first and foremost, is essential and one of the best starting points for using astrology in regards to relationships. Secondly, let's talk about now, for the rest of this video, 2 more common planets you will hear when using astrology for relationships. One of which is Venus, which applies to all relationships regardless of orientation. Venus is our feminine energy. And so dominantly for women, as I've observed, we crave being in our feminine energy in a relationship. So understanding your Venus for women specifically is about understanding what energy you want to be in a relationship. You want someone to bring this out in you, in your relationship, and feel like you get to be in this energy oftentimes. Now, that's not to say you don't want to be seen for your Mercury. That's not to say you don't want to be seen for your moon and all at all, but your Venus is going to feel very important to you and feel like something almost like you would feel honored to get to be in. You'll feel like you're in your almost highest self or highest expression in your relationship when you get to embody aspects of your Venus. For men specifically, as well, Venus is simply put our love language. This is what makes us feel most loved. This is what our idea of love is. Because for some people, love is partnership. Some people, love is adoration. Some people, love is having someone who has fun with you. That's all going to be dependent based off of your Venus placement. And some Venus placements need more independence than others. So looking into your Venus, both if you're male or female or something in between, is the idea of understanding what it is you're going to value and structure as your idea of love. So for example, all fire Venuses, so if you're a Venus in Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo, these people see love as somewhere to have fun. These people want a love that is passionate, a love that is adrenaline seeking. The idea almost of chemistry is more important to a Venus in a fire sign, as well as water signs. Not so much though air signs or earth signs. A Venus in a fire sign wants a love that feels like passion and intensity. And so they can oftentimes get caught up in the thrill of chasing love. But with that as well, I would say overall, a Venus in a fire sign doesn't mind a bit more independence in love. They want to be able to be free before they are in a relationship. And so they want someone who encourages this freedom and encourages play. The idea is basically with any fire Venus, I would love for you to come have fun with me, but if you're not going to be fun, I'm fine if you stay home. Just let me go do my thing. Whereas on the other hand, if you are a Venus in a water sign, this again is similar to Mercury in a water sign. So if your Venus is in Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, emotional connection is what your idea of love is. You feel like love is a place to feel understood. Love is a place to feel emotionally supported. Love is a place for you to be vulnerable and authentic. And so emotional conversation, emotional support, and emotional nurturance is very important to a water Venus. It depends slightly on the sign specifically, but we're not going to go into that today. If your Venus is in a earth sign for both men and women, these are all applicable. Your idea of love is a place to feel stable. And so these, again, similar to a Mercury and earth sign, these are people who see love as a place to just be stable. They don't want to have to contemplate things. The idea sometimes of growth, even for the Capricorn Venus, can sometimes feel like, why are you constantly pushing me out of my comfort zone? Love is a place to be comfortable for any Earth Venus. They want to feel stable, secure, and like they have structure. And oftentimes the thing that makes them feel most loved is material acts of service or material financial providing. Definitely the love language, as I would say, of finances in the new system, at least, financial love or service love is very strong with Venus in earth signs. And finally, if your Venus is in an air sign, intellectual connection is your idea of love. These are people who, similar to the fire signs in a way, they see that love is a place to be social in a sense. They want someone who they intellectually connect with, someone who wants to be curious with them, but also is happily fine with going and socializing with them. These are the social butterfly relationship dynamics oftentimes. The people who want to be in a relationship, but also want someone who wants to go socialize with them and wants to share with other people. In a sense, of Venus in an air sign, overall, I've noticed they don't put their relationship as much on a pedestal as others because they find that they can connect with anyone is kind of the concept. So understanding the differences between Venuses is understanding what the core value of love is, both for men and women, and also additionally for those who have stereotypical traditional male-female dynamics in their relationships. Men can support their woman the most in a relationship by helping her bring out her feminine by providing her masculine. We can only step into our feminine when we feel our masculine is being provided for. And on the contrary side, for women, understanding that your male counterpart is still going to, even though they want to be dominantly masculine, they're still going to have these Venusian, I don't know how you say that, values that make them feel loved. So understanding their Venus is understanding what makes them feel the most loved based off of element. Finally, this last key point on Venus, talking about masculine energy, takes us to our third and final point of astrology to look at in relationships is Mars. Mars in women is what we consider masculine energy that we want to be provided. We also, of course, to some degree, all want to be our Mars to some degree because we all have our own masculine energy. But we crave in relationships someone who provides that masculine energy. And again, masculine energy applies for both men and women in all kinds of relationships. And men in relationships want to dominantly be in their masculine. So whatever their Mars placement is, that's what they want to embody. And so understanding what element your Mars is in as a starting point can help you understand what you consider to be provider or what you consider providing energy is. Because we talk about in relationships, we hear in modern day society, I want someone who provides. To some people, the most important thing a man or masculine energy can provide is emotional security. To some, it is a home and a stable bank account and financial security. To some, providing is providing a place to play and have fun and be authentic. To some, masculine energy is providing an intellectual capability. And this is going to be based off of the element that your Mars is in. So for example, and I'll try to give both sides for this, but if your Mars is in an air sign, for men, if your Mars is in an air sign, you feel like the most masculine thing you can be is intellectual and capable, as well as maybe social. So a Mars in an air sign specifically is Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius. If your Mars as a man is in one of these signs, in your relationships, you feel like the best thing you can provide is intellectual capability and curiosity. When you're getting to use your mental abilities and maybe even network or socialize, you feel in your most masculine. This is similar to Venus, as we talked about. These people generally value more of a social unit overall, rather than putting a high emphasis on their one-on-one relationship, as I've noticed. If you are a woman who has this energy, you feel like the most masculine thing someone can provide for you is intellectual capability. You want someone who brings intellectual capacity to the table, curiosity, mental connection, and understanding, as well as you may find it attractive if they are a bit more of the social butterfly type and that they have a strong network rather than devoting all their energy into you. If you have a Mars in a water sign, so Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, and you are a man with this placement, you feel like the most masculine thing you can provide, what puts you in your masculine energy the most, is to be an emotional provider, connecting with your partner, connecting with others, providing emotional support and understanding. If you're a woman with this placement, you feel like the most masculine thing someone can provide for you is emotional support. So you can see how this really goes both ways here. And of course, to some degree, once again, every woman, man, any kind of relationship, everyone wants to embrace both their energies, both their feminine and their masculine. But depending on the relationship, there's going to be a more feminine and more masculine counterpart. And so our Mars and Venus tells us both what that feminine and masculine energy is. If your Mars is in, let's see, what if I not covered? Fire sign. If it's in Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo. As a man, you feel like the most masculine thing you can provide is physical capability, leadership, and confidence, as well as passion. These are people who really feel like, in a sense, their authority is in their energy, their charisma, their charm, their confidence, and their courage, their ability to take on physical challenges well. If you're a woman with this placement, you feel like the most masculine thing someone can provide is confidence and leadership, is courage, is someone who's passionate and playful. This is really about bringing a sense of energetic strength to the table overall, is how I would describe it, and someone who's playful. And finally, if your Mars is in, what have I not covered? An earth sign, so in Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo, and you are a man with this placement, you feel like the most masculine thing you can provide is material security and a place for stability. You want to be an unshakable rock in your relationships. If you're a woman with this placement, you feel like the most masculine thing someone can provide is material security and a place that feels like a rock for you to ground yourself in, rather than feeling like your relationship is shaking or volatile, maybe at like other areas of your life, so to say. So with Mars, it's important to both take into account what your partner's Mars is, if they are the masculine energy dominant one or the male in the relationship, understanding what their idea of masculine providing energy is, and then also vice versa for your feminine counterpart, understanding your feminine counterpart's Mars placement, because maybe you guys have different ideas of providing. For example, maybe your partner, your male partner, masculine energy dominant partner's Mars is in, let's say, Libra or Gemini or Aquarius. They feel most masculine when they're getting to use their intellectual capacities and be a part of a network, when they feel like they have a tribe, so to say. Whereas maybe your own Mars is in Cancer. And so you feel like the most masculine thing this person could do for you is provide emotional support. But maybe this causes a clash because you guys have different ideas of Mars. Does this mean you're incompatible? Not necessarily. Just understanding the key differences is a good starting point and meeting those qualities halfway. Which takes us into the final point for this video. How do you apply this knowledge? I want to take the last few minutes of this video to talk about how exactly you can put this into further application and work through these three energies to optimize your relationship for both sides to be fulfilled. How I would personally see applying this knowledge is, simply put, writing out in 2 columns what is my energy versus what is my partner's. So starting off with Mercury, what is my partner's Mercury? What is my Mercury? Now refining it by element and saying, okay, what does this generally mean we're going to want to talk about, or how are we going to talk? And you can even take this a step further and say, what are our strengths and weaknesses, based off of maybe watching my videos talking about Mercury, Venus, and Mars through the signs. Then doing that for Venus and asking what makes us each feel loved based off of our placements. If your Venus is in Taurus, maybe you value comfort and indulgence. Whereas if your partner's Venus is in Gemini, maybe they value intellectual conversation. And then going into Mars and saying, what is my placement of this versus what's their placement of this? And what is my idea of masculine energy? What do I want someone to provide? What do I want to provide? Understanding the key differences here is, simply put, the process. I think so often we hear this idea of, and I actually ran a workshop only a week ago, and the question that came up is this incompatible? Is this going to just be a problem? This already sounds like it's a problem, so what do I do about that? Awareness is really, I feel, an underrated first step that can be so much more helpful than we realize. Because simply put, by bringing awareness to these differences, it can help us mediate conflicts and come from a more understanding place so that we can be more patient and also eventually learn to provide what our partner needs, or provide that for ourselves. Because in the end, our birth chart doesn't just tell us what our partner needs to give us. It's the key to giving that energy to ourselves. If our Mercury is in a certain sign, how can we provide ourselves that intellectual stimulation or mental connection that we crave in all fields of life? If our Venus is in a certain sign, how can we make ourselves feel loved? And I have a whole workbook going into Venus for specifically women. The Venus for Men workbook is eventually going to be coming soon. Haven't worked on it yet. You could check out the Venus, and anyone can check out the Venus workbook, but it is overall geared towards women. And understanding your Mars can help you understand what makes you feel strong and masculine, which we all need that sense of containment and providing for ourselves. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did this give you a quick or simple, clear introduction to using astrology for your relationships? What are you and your partner's placements? Does this explain where you guys hit heads? Does this explain where you guys get along? Do you have more questions about this? I would love to film more videos talking about relationship astrology because this is such a fun topic for me. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what questions you have, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name's Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.